Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Plenty of conversations happening in our next 2 hours, starting in the Caribbean, where Hurricane Melissa has just finished passing through the Bahamas. There's a massive cleanup effort just getting started in Jamaica. A look at the damage left behind and what some Metro Detroiters are doing when they have ties to those islands and what they're saying. Back here at home, I sat down with a group of young Detroiters to find out what they are looking for in the city's next mayor. And then we are taking a look at just how much money Stellantis made in the last quarter and how it compares to the other Detroit automakers. We are going to start in the Caribbean, though, and a live look at the Bahamas right now. Hurricane Melissa is making its way over the Bahamas and Bermuda. It is now a Category 2 storm. It left Jamaica and Cuba, and now those countries are beginning that long road to recovery. Melissa slammed into Jamaica as a Category 5 storm on Tuesday, destroying roads and homes. At least 30 people have died across the Caribbean right now, and about 77% of Jamaica is without power. The U.S. State Department says it is deploying a disaster response team. Meanwhile, UK authorities and aid groups, including World Central Kitchen, also said they were mobilizing help for that region. Also new this morning, we are getting a look at how the maker of Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler is doing this year. Stellantis says it has earned $43 billion in the third quarter. That's a 13% increase and is more than Wall Street expected. However, the automaker says they expect extra expenses this year that won't affect their normal profits. Stellantis also says it is planning to invest $13 billion into the U.S., creating 5,000 jobs and launching 5 new vehicles. Let's take a live look at the city of Detroit now, where in less than a week, the city will have a new mayor. Some of the voters will be the next generation of leaders. We're talking about Gen Zers, a group of 20-somethings, and they've got strong opinions about the direction of this city. We put a panel together and asked them what they want to see in the next mayor. Here is part of that conversation. This is going to be a great conversation because I can't wait to see what I feel real old sitting in this room now. In terms of, we're just going to call it priorities and what you think the city of Detroit needs to do with the next round of leadership, whoever it is, doesn't matter who is elected. I'm curious, and I'm going to start with you, Dana. What do you think should be some top priorities for the city of Detroit?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Priorities need to be the education in the state of schools. Right now, 80% of the charter schools in the state of Michigan exist in the city of Detroit. They have no authorization. There's no, they open and close right before students are about to graduate. I think we really need to hone in on history and also look forward to the future of where we want to see ourselves and our babies be educated. And I think we need that starts with like retaining the current talent that is in the city of Detroit, that comes from Detroit. We know that genius comes from Detroit, right? There are Pulitzer Prize winners, there are Nobel Prize winners who were born educated in this city. And I think we just need to harness our talent and really figure out a way where we can community educate ourselves and bring literacy to the table. I'm glad to be talking with young bookstore owners in this space because we really need to ensure that we take control of our literacy and understand that the diversity that literacy is, right? So it not just be understanding math, but also being able to code switch within the different worlds that we are blessed to exist in.
Yeah. I'm not going to presume that you want to start a family. That's everyone's decision. But if you do, is that a major factor? The education, the quality of education in the city and where you want to live?
100%. I do want to start a family. And I don't know, I debate with my family and stuff a lot about this. My mom has 5 kids. And so we always talk about like where we'll be and so they can live with their cousins. And I'm always like, we're going to Ghana. I'm not going to deal with this type of stuff. And I think, you know, and my mom brings this up a lot, and education was a very important thing in our household. My mom took me and my sisters, woke up every day and took us to 3 different schools just so we wouldn't be compared to each other and we could thrive in our own different schools. And so education is the forefront. And I got to see that firsthand while taking education outside of the classroom. I took a gap year before I went to the University of Michigan. I knew like I just really wanted some life experience. But I would say, I think there was a lot of people around me, and I think this is looping the conversation back in, that were very scared, right? And they were saying like, who you think you are? Like Malia Obama, you taking a gap year, you don't need to be doing that. And God is good, and needless to say, I met President Obama in my gap year, right? So I think it's like being able to listen to what's in your heart. But at the end of the day, you only have one shot to educate your kids, right? So you need to make the best decisions. You need to know the principals, you need to know the teachers, you need to know the other parents so you know what's going on. You know, sadly, we had a very traumatic event that happened in our neighborhood at Gumpers Elementary, and we really, you know, it's heartbreaking, right? And we understand that parents do their best to protect their children. Administration also needs to, it's a whole conversation to bring that up, but I know that I don't even want those kind of things to be happening in my child's school.
Yeah. Emily, same question in terms of what do you think should be the number one priority of the next administration?
I think the number one priority needs to be giving proper funding to local organizations in the city of Detroit. Because in all honesty, and like you said, I can speak candidly, I put very little faith into politicians. Historically, they have never been on the ground doing the work, and the people that's on the ground doing the work are these local organizations. They just don't have the proper funding to excel in the community. And like every time when I think of local organizations, I think of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panthers, they had their own free breakfast program. They had their own mental health clinics. They had their own ambulance services because we couldn't get service properly. And there are so many organizations, educational organizations, food organizations, given the fact that food benefits are about to be cut off on Saturday. We need to give proper funding to these churches, these soup kitchens, these Forgotten Harvests, these educational organizations, these 42 Forwards, these DHDCs, all of these organizations that can help us because, like I said, politicians, they can't do much. They can't, in all honesty. And I will be supporting any candidate who is giving proper funding to these people on the ground.
Let me ask that question to all of you then, and I appreciate your candor there. Does your generation, and I don't know if you want to speak for the entire generation, but the six of you here, do you have a lack of trust or respect with local leaders, think that they just aren't doing enough for you or your families or your loved ones? That can go to anybody.
Sometimes I think about what the role of government is. And that, I think, is the question that has really divided the nation. And that there's almost one camp that says the role of government is to support everybody and make sure that we are well. And the other camp is to say that the role of government is to make sure that evil is kept at bay. And I don't really know if looking at politicians, if I'm necessarily thinking like, oh, this is the person who is guiding my future. This is the person to rely on. I'm almost thinking like, this is the person who is maintaining order. I think that politicians ultimately are motivated to maintain order, and that the people who are most engaged with politics are the people who are most satisfied by the current order. And so if you are somebody who is looking for change, oftentimes politics is not the first base camp. It is these local organizations, and those local organizations raise and succeed and build funding until the point where the politicians can kind of say like, oh, hey, you know, something has shifted. This is the new order. Let me maintain that. But I don't often see politicians as those first movers. Your number one priority for the city of Detroit?
There are a couple priorities I think the next mayor should have. But one of the things I'll mention I think is all encompassing is that the next mayor must be a good partner. And they must understand that the problems in Detroit are too complex for the local government to solve alone. They have to be good collaborators and partners with community. And a good partner empowers people with the tools and resources to help them solve their own problems. In every neighborhood in Detroit, there are people who are already solving problems, creating urban gardens, small businesses, neighborhood cleanups. I have not seen the city embrace those groups as well as they should. Those who are close to the problem are close to the solution. They're already actively doing something to better their conditions. If the city could be a better partner, I think you would see neighborhoods flourish more. So being a good partner is huge. And it'll require a mayor that is innovative and creative in their problem solving. Some new ways of thinking about how this city will move forward together and not just in silos, I think how it currently is.
All right, now coming up after the break, we're going to hear what these young Detroiters have to say about public transit and how to attract more young people to the city when Local 4 Live returns. Welcome back, everybody, to Local 4 Live. We're going to continue that conversation with that group of young Detroiters and what they want in terms of public transit and how Detroit should be attracting more young people to the city. Conversation about downtown Detroit versus the neighborhoods of Detroit has always been a long one, and it's, you know, us versus them or them versus us. Do you think that narrative is still valid? Is that still a conversation? Should it be a conversation? Or do you think that things have gotten better? Anybody can answer that.
I can start. Are you going to say?
No, go ahead, bro.
So I operate Page's Bookshop, and so we're on a small business corridor in the far west side. So we are in the neighborhoods, and I've seen exactly like what the neighborhoods feel like. But I also went to Wayne State University, and so I've seen what downtown looks like. There's a difference, and there's a difference about excitement, and there's a difference in investment. I would not necessarily say that the neighborhoods are totally forgotten, but Detroit is the motor city, and my experience with downtown, honestly, like ground level, is parking. I don't necessarily feel like, as a resident of Detroit, that my mode of transportation is the most welcome getting downtown. I don't necessarily feel the most welcome. And I feel that, you know, if you're somebody who is visiting, or if you're somebody who can afford to live and work downtown, then you have some sort of like long-term solutions. You can like, you can queue line. You can queue line for about 3 miles, something like that. It's very walkable. They got bike lanes and stuff like that. And I feel that if you are driving, and Detroiters are drivers, you don't feel welcome downtown.
I would go as far as to say, yes, there has been a huge divestment and somewhat of a forgotten, method, I guess, if you will, about the neighborhoods. I live and I grew up in the Puritan Schaefer community on Detroit's west side. And I've seen some of these same abandoned buildings since I was a kid. That is neglect, period. There's no way around it. That is just flat out neglect. And there are a total of 7 schools within a 1.5 mile radius of the bookstore that I own. And the kids see the same exact thing that I grew up seeing. There's a clear indicator of, what is priority when it comes to those things. We started a community garden 1 block away from this bookstore that I have in the nutrition desert. There has not been a level of investment in the city that's trying to actively solve the problems of that neighborhood. And that's the story of, I think, other neighborhoods in the city of Detroit as well.
Your generation, the Gen Zers, 20, you're all 20-ish, right? What does the city need to do to attract you? Because you're going to be the future, right? They want you to move downtown. They want you to move to the city. They want you to spend your money and raise your families and start businesses. But how do they get you to do it?
I think for me, like I said, back to my first answer, it's just the implementation of these local organizations. And in all honesty, as someone who grew up in Brightmoor, Detroit, which is not known for being the safest environment, my only, I would say, way out was being in local organizations and seeing better. And then, like, in all honesty, like my sister, she's a first generation college student. I didn't, like, if it wasn't for her, then I wouldn't have gone to college. I didn't even know what college was like until she went. And I'm pretty sure it was the local organization 482 Forward that fights for education justice was a stepping stone for her getting into college. And it's very difficult to want better if you can't see better. And that's what these local organizations are doing. They are showing you better and showing you that it can be better. And that just like goes into like the first question. Like I really want I'm supporting a mayor that is pouring in to the community and not giving false promises to the community.
I see this in a very systematic way, right? So I have a strong background in making movies, right? And so people want to move to New York City and live in a shoebox because it's romanticized, right? Marketing is such a strong core and the things that we see visually. I'm also a photographer, right? And so a lot of times when I'm walking around my neighborhood with my camera, people assume two things, right? The first one is, oh, you about to go downtown and take some pictures? So there's an attachment to my neighborhood is not beautiful enough to document. And then there's a second assumption of like, oh, are you the police, right? And we think about these things, projects like Green Light Project, right? Or even just that recent case in Baltimore, correct? Where the AI mistakes some chips for a gun, right? These things are severely planned, right? Like I remember when I learned, and I hope to correct me if I'm wrong, entertainment is within the tourism department. You know what I mean? People make movies to make people live there, right? And so when we think about the tax incentives that existed in the state of Michigan to do the whole trilogy of Transformers and them being away, we have a very strong, I have a lot of feelings about the independent industry currently in the city, but I would say it's worth being invested in, and also people are gonna watch a movie before they read a book. Like media is so accessible to us, and I think that it just has to be sold. And I think that the neighborhoods are where the real stories get to be. So there's a John Singleton down the street, right? There is a Spike Lee that exists in our neighborhoods, and we really just need to be able to tell those stories and sell Detroit. And I think that we are the captain of culture, right? Like nothing started, imagine Black culture without the city of Detroit, right? And that was not downtown. That was these deep neighborhoods, right? And so I'm currently working on a project with Black Bottom Archive that explores the neighborhoods and tells stories with the neighborhoods. And so I'm really glad as far as what my sister is saying is like them got that investment so they can select people in different neighborhoods to tell the stories of neighborhoods, right? And I just think we can't really see change without creativity. We have to imagine it, we have to see it, and unfortunately we have to sell it. And I mean, New York City has been selling it for decades, right? And people will romanticize it, complain about it, and still stay.
Coming up at 8:30, we're going to hear from this panel about the frustrations they have with leadership, including empty promises and who is really looking out for Detroiters. It is a rainy Thursday, but will the rain stick around for Halloween tomorrow? Ashley is tracking your trick-or-treating forecast when we come back. And then Detroit is moving up in the rankings on a pretty gross list. We're talking about the rattiest cities in America and 2 other Michigan cities making that list. Welcome back, everybody. Here is a list Detroit definitely does not want to be on. The Motor City ranking 7th according to Orkin's annual top 50 rattiest cities list. It appears the problem is getting worse, too. Detroit moved up a spot from last year and 2 spots from 2023. Grand Rapids came in at number 25 and Flint at 41. Los Angeles was named America's rattiest city for the very first time ever, dethroning Chicago. Chicago held that top spot for 10 years straight. Ashley Barrissey over in the weather office now, just kind of shaking a little bit, thinking about all the rats running around the office right now.
Well, I'm not even going to mention that. I will say that I have seen a rat cross my path in downtown Detroit before, so that doesn't shock me. But yeah, at least we are not Los Angeles or Chicago. Let's go ahead and get to your forecast here in Detroit. City Airport, 46 degrees, Ann Arbor, 46, Port Huron, 48, and Adrian, 45. We're holding out a cloud cover. You can see a couple raindrops on our Windsor sky cam, where we do have most of the rain on the east side, including our friends across the river in Canada. So your out-the-door forecast for today, mainly dry I would say to the northwest, but we're going to have the rain mainly on the east side from Port Huron through Detroit down towards Monroe throughout the day today. Gusty winds sticking with us. I mean, it's been a windy week, and so we'll hold on to a breeze today, and those winds pick up heading into your Friday, even as we begin to dry things out. And we'll be cooler than average today, and we kind of stick below that average mark through the weekend. So cool, cloudy afternoon ahead with a chance for showers, but they will be mainly in the scattered variety off to the east side. Satellite radar showing that we do have some rain on the northern tier of this low, and that's what's clipping southeastern Michigan. But as that low pushes off to the northeast, we will start to see some drier conditions come midnight and beyond. Waterford, Novi, Ann Arbor, down to the southeast is where we have the rain right now. So it is lifting into portions of Oakland and Washtenaw County. And it's just going to hover on the east side as the day rolls on until midnight. Then we dry things out Friday. And we do have a little chance for a passing isolated shower going into your Friday evening, Howell, Ann Arbor. But most of us are going to dodge that, and this is the only model that even picks up that little isolated chance. So I'm going to keep us dry for the trick-or-treat forecast. Mostly cloudy skies, cool, breezy. And speaking of those the breeze, it's going to be around 30 miles per hour when it comes to the gusts throughout the afternoon on Halloween because of the howling winds. So daylight saving time ends this weekend. As far as Sunday at 2 a.m., that's when the clocks change, so you really want to change them before you go to bed. Sunrise will go from 8:07 a.m. on Saturday to 7:08 on Sunday. That sunset also will be an hour earlier. So you get the extra hour of sleep, but you start to see the changes when it comes to when the sun rises and sun sets. Batteries in your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, now will be the time to change those. This is always a good reminder of that. Also a good reminder to take this time to change your ceiling fan settings. So in the summer months, you want counterclockwise rotation. That creates more of an air conditioning effect, cooling you off. But in the winter, if you switch it to clockwise, it's going to then push the heat that rises down the walls and back down to the surface, and that could save you a few bucks on heating your home. Your forecast in the next 7 days, we go through the 50s and highs, rising in the upper 50s by next week, and those overnight lows will steadily stay in the 30s. That's your 7-day forecast.
All right, Ash, thank you so much. The fight to help Michiganders feed their families. Next, we're taking a deep dive into the ongoing battle to save the SNAP program before it runs out of funding on Saturday. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. With less than 1 week until the election, Jason Coulthard talking one-on-one with Detroit's mayoral candidates. Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinlock Jr. will answer questions at the Detroit Economic Club this afternoon. You can watch that streaming live at 12:30 on Local 4 Plus and our homepage at clickondetroit.com. There's also another 90 minutes of Local 4 Live coming your way over on Local 4 Plus. Next, you're going to hear from a group of young voters in Detroit about what they want to see in their next mayor. And then a deep dive into the ongoing fights over SNAP benefits in the U.S. and how Michigan lawmakers are trying to save the program here in Michigan. And finally, a conversation with the superintendent of Pontiac schools about a new millage aimed at fixing critical infrastructure. Really, it's a renewal, though. Also, Ashley has your Halloween forecast in just a few moments. Tune over to Local 4 Plus. You can watch all of that right now.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. All morning long, you've been hearing from young voters in the city of Detroit discussing what they want to see in the city's next mayor and how the city can attract young people. Now they're talking about the frustrations they have. Here's that conversation. When you compare Detroit to other large metro cities for their transportation, public transportation, and what they offer, we have made some improvements, but I mean, nowhere near what it should be. How key is transportation for you and your generation and attracting your generation?
I think it's essential in all honesty. But I also like, not to be a pessimist, but I don't think public transportation will ever be reliable in the city of Detroit because we are the motor city and we are the staple for Ford, GM, and Chrysler. They need, in order for them to make money, somebody gotta buy their cars, or even just like the insurance rates is just like exponentially high for just no reason in the city of Detroit. And so that's why like it's so crazy because I was talking to someone about this. I'm like, Detroit probably would never be a New York or a Chicago when it comes to transportation because it's just it's a money grab, in all honesty.
I think that it should be a priority. Transportation should be a priority because it's tied to affordability and cost of living. We're kind of all in that age range where we probably want to start buying a home and starting a family and those type of things. But Detroit, the cost of living is rising every single year. And she mentioned
disproportionately to salaries.
Yeah. And she mentioned the part about car insurance. Think about, can the average 25-year-old in Detroit afford a one-bedroom apartment in Midtown and have a car here while paying Detroit insurance car rates or car insurance rates? That's all tied to the cost of living, and transportation is a part of that. So you have to think about that when you're trying to retain or attract young talent, because that's an idea. People kind of offset. They go to New York, the high rent. I don't have to have a car, so it's not too bad. But in Detroit, I got high rent and high car insurance rates. It's unattractive to someone that wants to start to build a foundation here.
I have sensed, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've sensed a little bit of frustration when we talk about what government and how government supports you. Do you all kind of feel that way, that no matter who is in that office, the city of Detroit is not there for you? Or do you think it can be?
I'm optimistic.
Okay.
I kind of think of it like I think of schools in some ways. Like, you know, certain schools were designed to fail, right? And so I don't think that, I think of it as a puzzle, right? So there are many players that add to quality of life and add to support. And so I think it needs to be a stronger network. So as soon as my mother starts, and then college starts, and then the government starts, you know, like it's kind of like a marathon. And so I think that government is a key part. We don't want them hindering the process, but I don't think that they are just like the answer to getting us the holistic life that we want. I think a lot of the things that people at this table are doing and speaking about with local organizations and small businesses and grassroots organizations adds to it, and like they should listen to us. But I don't know, it's really like you are a representative. You just listen and make it happen.
And I think it starts with us as well. I feel like a lot of the time people can get caught up in like people that are in the forefront or that have the spotlight, and it really starts with us. You know, I feel like if we make it a better place, eventually it goes up.
I think he said he's an optimist and I am a realist. And like I've been saying this whole conversation, politicians, they've never done much to me. That's just my experience. But what they do with their platform matters. How much they pour into the community, that matters. What they're saying matters. Their platform matters. Their policies matter. You know, so I'm always going to support the person who has the experience and who isn't just coming in and saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and this. And you're not telling me how you're going to do this, and this. Now I'm looking at you sideways because you're just giving poor people false hope and false promises. And we've had enough of that. And like, I'm honestly fed up with that.
It really was a great conversation with all of those young leaders here in the city of Detroit. You can watch the entire thing on our website at clickondetroit.com. Speaking of the mayoral race today, Jason Colthorpe is going to be talking one-on-one with the mayoral candidates. Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinlock Jr. will answer questions at the Detroit Economic Club. You can watch that streaming live this afternoon here at 12:30 on Local 4 Plus and on the homepage of clickondetroit.com. The government shutdown is near a month old and there is no end in sight. Next, we're going to take a deep dive into the fight to save the SNAP program before it loses funding in Michigan this weekend. Plus, here is Maya Kuznicki with what she's working on. Welcome back, everybody. Now a look at where things stand as we are entering day 30 of the government shutdown in Washington. A live look now at the Capitol, where the shutdown is dragging on with no deal in sight. The latest from the Congressional Budget Office shows this shutdown is costing the U.S. economy a massive $7 billion every month. But here's the problem. Lawmakers still far apart, stuck on key issues and refusing to give in. Now food assistance programs are on the line, putting millions at risk of not having enough food on the table. Tensions are running high, with both sides angry over disputes about SNAP benefits.
Let me just point out, if I might, that we are 29 days into a Democrat shutdown. And the senator from New Mexico was absolutely right. SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, oh, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money. 13 times, people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC.
None of this pain that Republicans have inflicted on the American people is acceptable. It's also important to note that the money currently exists within the Trump administration, including $5 billion in a contingency fund specifically for this kind of circumstance, to continue providing SNAP benefits to the American people, including 16 million children who might otherwise go hungry if Donald Trump successfully withholds these SNAP benefits. The Trump administration doesn't need Congress to act in order to continue providing nutritional and food assistance to everyday Americans. They're trying to weaponize this issue and cause people to go hungry in the most callous and cruel manner possible.
Session in just a few hours to continue voting and try to come to a deal to reopen the government. Now here at home, Michigan lawmakers are racing to find funds to keep SNAP going. The Fair Food Network's Double Up Food Bucks program, backed by a grant from the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, is expanding through the end of December. This comes as funding for the program runs out this Saturday. About 13% of homes in Michigan, that's nearly 1.5 million families, could be hit hard if SNAP loses its funding. Of those families, 43% have children and 36% are adults or people with disabilities or who rely on these benefits. Right now, Michigan Democrats are pushing a temporary SNAP funding plan, a $900 million emergency package to keep help flowing. But if they could vote on that measure as early as today, but there is a big catch. If the state uses its own money to keep SNAP going, the federal government will not reimburse them. Last year, the average household received about $335 a month in SNAP benefits. Yesterday on Local 4 Live, we spoke with Dr. Phil Knight, the executive director for the Food Bank Council of Michigan. Here's what he had to say about how food banks here in Michigan are preparing for an influx of people.
We're very concerned. All the food banks are gearing up for what we would see to be an influx over the next few weeks. SNAP, of course, is a program that furnishes for every meal that food banks provide. SNAP will do 7 to 9 meals. So it's impossible for us to scale charity to this level. And I think it's really important to manage these expectations that when we unplug SNAP out of the community and out of the economy, and we plug the charitable food network in, such as food banks, that's not a quid pro quo. We just can't scale that. We'll do all we can, but we just can't scale to that level. 5 times more purchasing food than what they spent in 2019 prior to the pandemic. So we're buying more food in anticipation that over the month of November, there will be more people coming to us that would need assistance.
Now, it is unclear if Michigan Republicans will support the food benefit bill package. Last week, State Representative Ron Robinson, a Republican representing Utica, said these vital programs will continue to be a priority and will take strong bipartisan support to protect critical services. Meantime, here in Metro Detroit, many Metro Detroiters are feeling the pinch of the possibility of losing these benefits.
I thought it was absolutely disgraceful. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is my opinion that this is a political game and we are the pawns.
Only $8.50, and like I said, I only get $99 per month.
And you don't know what you're going to do next month?
Well, no, I have no idea.
We've tripled in the number of people we've been feeding, and we're seeing a whole lot of new faces, a whole lot of new kids, older people, elderly people, but I can only imagine what's going to happen after the benefits are gone.
If you really care anything, which I think a lot of them don't, but if you care, you would do something about it. You really would.
Food assistance, there are resources available. We've got a full list of those resources on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, Metro Detroit is seeing another big problem due to the ongoing government shutdown. A live look here at Metro Airport because TSA workers and air traffic controllers are sitting at a critical juncture. They have now missed their first paychecks, raising concerns about the flight disruptions due to a lack of staffing. Amaya Kuznicki has that story from DTW.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says we could see more delays as more airport workers call off. And while Detroit Metro Airport says it isn't anticipating any disruptions, that's not the case for other airports across the country.
I have friends now that love to travel, and some of them have said to me, I won't fly right now because I don't know if it's safe.
Uncertainty at the airport is stirring up concern across the nation. Due to the government shutdown, TSA agents and air traffic controllers are working without pay, adding more stress to their jobs, leading to more and more call-offs.
I am shocked that they're showing up to work. I myself am traveling for business, and I'll tell you one thing, if I was not being paid, I would not be here right now.
Local travel agents are urging travelers to take extra precautions in case delays or cancellations arise due to lack of staff.
I just had some people come back from New York, and he changed his flight and it was delayed.
Staying on top of your flight status and arriving to the airport early are crucial.
You should be showing up extra early. So when they say show up a couple hours early, you should show up at least 3 hours early.
We reached out to the Federal Aviation Administration about the issue, but received an automatic email reply back saying due to the funding lapse, the administration is not taking routine requests. Although they did say there have been increased staffing shortages, and when that happens, the FAA slows traffic into some airports to ensure safe operations.
I am anticipating delays, and if I do, I will miss my children's first Halloween. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
A spokesperson for TSA says the longer the government shutdown goes on, the larger the impact it'll have on its staff. They just ask for your patience and understanding. In Romulus, Amaya Kuznicki, Local 4.
Amaya, thank you much. Big news today on a facility that has been the focus of the investigators here at Local 4. And then, as we take a live look at a blurry hangar at Selfridge, you can kind of see in the background there. Next, lawmakers are trying to save jobs at Selfridge and the A10 Warthogs, why there is an early retirement plan in place. Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a live look at the Bahamas this morning, where Melissa is moving back into the Atlantic but left a trail of destruction behind. Now that hurricane is turning across the ocean towards the Bermuda area. Take a look at this video from Jamaica, where 4 more people were found dead. Right now, most of that country is without electricity after the hurricane slammed the country as a Category 5 storm. Rosemary Forrest, who owns the Jamaican Pot on 8 Mile here in Detroit, says that she has not been able to reach her family members yet.
A lot of people come by and, talk to me about what's going on and, let us know that whatever they can do to help, they are willing to help. My uncle, I don't know, he's holding up right now. He's because his home is torn down. He called me, he told me, he said, I lose my home.
Most of Jamaica is without power right now. Forrest did start a GoFundMe called Rebuild Hope for Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. You can find that link on our website over at clickondetroit.com. Michigan lawmakers are fighting to stop the early retirement of the A-10 fighter jets over at Selfridge Air National Guard Base. They want to keep the A-10s flying until the new F-15EX fighters arrive in 2028. Lawmakers want to aid a long gap between the missions that could cost jobs and training. It's all being led by Congressman Tom Barrett, who is pushing for language in a defense bill to clock early retirement without Congress's approval. Well, last week we told you Vista Maria in Dearborn Heights is closing its residential treatment program, and today we know just how many workers are losing their jobs. The CEO of that treatment center says 154 people will be permanently laid off. The organization, one of Michigan's oldest child welfare groups, said the program no longer fits the needs of the kids or the state's rules. Vista Maria will keep running other services like foster care and support for young adults. Local 4 investigators have closely followed this facility and the dozens of violations that have come out of it. You can read up on that investigation again on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, it is the hottest ticket in town, and apparently Detroiters are really excited about it. A live look at Comerica Park on this rainy Thursday morning. Next, you are running out of time to enter the Savannah Banana Lottery to catch the game when it comes to town next year. Welcome back, everybody. Detroiters are really excited for Banana Ball to come to the Motor City. The owner of the Savannah Banana says fans in Detroit submitted the second most ticket drawing applications for the upcoming games at Comerica Park. He says more than 171,000 applications have been submitted. The ticket lottery closes tomorrow. The Banana Ball League comes to Comerica Park in September of next year. All right, Ashley Barrissey over in the weather office. I know you're a Savannah banana fan.
I mean, it is fun. I mean, my son thinks it's really cool. So, yeah, I think it's great that they're coming to Detroit. A lot of fans here, and we'll have to see how the weather shakes out when that time rolls around. In the meantime, your forecast for today, keeping the rain mainly on the east side. Now, that's not to say you're not going to see a little light drizzle here or there off towards Ann Arbor, but for the most part, we're going to see this kind of between Port Huron, Detroit, and down towards Monroe. So, mainly an east side event today, staying dreary all across southeastern Michigan and breezy. In fact, the winds will be even gustier heading into your Halloween. And we're cooler than average today, only rising a couple degrees as the day rolls on, but we will stay slightly below average through the weekend. Here's a live look right now at Metro Airport, and it is a great start to your day. 46 degrees at Metro, Ann Arbor, and Monroe. Cloud cover keeps those temps pretty consistent. 43 in Lapeer. So as we map out the rest of your day, cool, cloudy with a chance for rain. And even though you see these icons as the day rolls on, it's not a washout. It's going to kind of lift and then retreat, lift and retreat on the east side. And I'll show you what I'm talking about with our computer model in a moment. All has to do with this low pressure system that is just south of here, just kind of tracking along the Ohio River, bringing much more widespread rain to Ohio. But we're on the northern tier of it, and so you start to see those outer bands creeping into southeastern Michigan, and it's coming out of the southeast. It's not a west to east movement. It has to do with the counterclockwise rotation of the low. So Detroit, Romulus, off close to Adrian, and certainly in most of Monroe County, getting the rain right now on live Exact Track 4D, but it's still very much light and just kind of steady. So as the day rolls on, you see how it's just brushing the east side before retreating back to the east by midnight, and then we dry things out for the most part on Halloween. This model has picked up a couple little spotty, isolated chances for a light shower come late Friday evening. I think that most of us get through trick-or-treating dry, and this is an outlier. Most models have us dry throughout the day, but it was just worth mentioning that that's just the one little hiccup that we're seeing, and it's not even a slam dunk. What will be, though, the winds, and so we know we're going to have howling winds on Halloween, gusts up to about 30 miles per hour. So these 50s falling in the 40s, likely feeling a bit cooler because of the wind. It'll be a cool and breezy trick-or-treat, but hey, it certainly could be worse. It's not snowing, and it's not raining sideways. Tomorrow's winds will be right around 30 miles per hour as far as those gusts through the afternoon before starting to taper off a little bit into the evening as you get closer to that trick-or-treat time. Let's talk football this weekend, and so we have a 7 o'clock kickoff in the Big House on Saturday. That's Purdue taking on Michigan, planned for 40s throughout the game. Very slight chance of seeing a shower, I think mostly cloudy. And then for the Lions game on Sunday, once again, you get that extra hour of either sleep or tailgating, but it's a 1 o'clock kickoff against the Vikings. Mostly sunny for tailgating, and then we'll be rising to about 50 close to kickoff, mid-50s by the time you leave Ford Field, and we'll have partly cloudy conditions. Tracking Melissa, so the latest advisory came out at 8 o'clock, and so that put those sustained winds still at 105 miles per hour, but we will be getting another update within another hour or two. Still a Category 2 hurricane. It will impact Bermuda today, but as far as the Bahamas and the eastern portion of Cuba, all of the warnings, those tropical warnings, have expired there, so that's good news. We are staying in the 50s here close to home into next week, and those overnight lows consistently in the cool 30s.
I'm just waiting for the Halloween costumes to go whipping across the street.
Yeah, I have a witch's hat. It's probably going to go flying. Or maybe I could grab a broom and I could go flying.
Oh, there's some jokes there, but I'll leave it alone.
Hey!
Thanks, Ashley. Much more coming up in the next hour. People in several communities in Metro Detroit will be voting on some millage renewals to fix up their schools. We're going to talk to the leaders in the Pontiac School District. The superintendent joins us to talk about how they would use that money. And what is the word Michiganders mispronounce the most? I'm not talking about Gratiot or Shaner. This is the top story over on clickondetroit.com. So a lot of you are talking about it. We're going to reveal that #1 mispronounced word coming up. And then the science behind being scared, why some of you love it and others hate it. More news and weather in the next hour. Stay with us here on Local 4 Live.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you for joining us. A lot to talk about in this hour. Hurricane Melissa is now taking aim at other parts of the Caribbean after unleashing destruction in Jamaica. A live look at the conditions right now and the damage already done. And then funding improvements in schools. It's something you'll see on the ballot this Tuesday in many of our communities. We're going to chat with the superintendent of Pontiac schools about how that district could use that money, and they already have been. It's a renewal. And then Zach Bryan and John Mayer broke attendance records when they held that first concert ever at the Big House. And now U of M says, let's do it again, hinting another superstar may be coming in concert. And we've got a pretty good idea of who it might be. All right, let's take a look at your news headlines on this Thursday morning. Starting again in the Caribbean, Hurricane Melissa is on its way to Bermuda after moving over the Bahamas overnight. Let's take a look at where the storm is right now as it pushes out of the Caribbean, leaving behind devastating damage. The storm is responsible for at least 30 deaths across the Caribbean, 25 of those people killed in Haiti. Now, this is a look from above all of that damage in Montego Bay, Jamaica. It's going to take a long time for people to clean up their homes. The hurricane is the strongest storm on record ever to hit the Caribbean island nation and then roared into eastern Cuba, smashing the city of Santiago and flooding rural land. Jamaica's Minister of Information says the challenge now is reaching people cut off in the aftermath.
So we need to get to those marooned communities. And so having heavy equipment, having crews that can come in and assist us in getting to those areas is really very important. We also need to get food to these areas because a lot of these people are cut off and do need food supplies flown into them. And so there's a lot of need on the western side of the island.
Now, what makes it so hard to reach people is that many of the mud-soaked roads are just impassable. The entire country has been declared a disaster area already by the Prime Minister. Back here at home, a suspect is in custody after an hours-long standoff with police in Livonia. This started with a welfare check at a home on Ann Arbor Trail about 10 o'clock Wednesday morning. When officers got there, they heard gunshots from the house. That's when they set up a perimeter and called in the SWAT team. According to police, the man has a history of mental illness, and after several hours, he did surrender peacefully. Investigators say several weapons were found inside. Well, new this morning, we are getting a look at how the maker of Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler is doing this year. Stellantis saying it earned $43 billion in the third quarter. That's a 13% increase and is more than Wall Street expected. However, the automaker says they expect extra expenses this year, but it won't affect their normal profits. Stellantis also says it's planning to invest $13 billion in the U.S., creating 5,000 jobs and launching 5 new vehicles. Well, this afternoon, a Detroit rapper will be in a Macomb County court on a drug charge. Quesada Sorrell, known professionally as Sada Baby, is facing a felony possession charge. In April, police found drugs in his truck when pulling him over for driving without a license in Sterling Heights. And right now, police downriver need your help identifying a person of interest in an arson case. Take a look at this picture here. The man is accused of attempting to set fire to a Happy's Pizza on Oakwood Boulevard in Melvindale on October 3rd. This man and 2 others tried 3 times to set the place on fire. The first time was at 1:30 in the morning. Then they came back at 4:20 and then again at 6:10. If you recognize that man, please call Melvindale Police. Election day is less than a week away, and on Tuesday, voters will pick the next mayor to lead the city of Detroit. Some of those voters will be the next generation of young leaders. We're talking about Gen Z, a generation that's pretty in touch with what's happening in their own communities and strongly opinionated about what the direction of the city of Detroit needs to be. We got a group of Gen Zers together. They were all 20-somethings living in the city of Detroit, and they really do understand better what's happening in their communities, but what their communities really do need. So we asked them, what should the next administration's priorities be? Your number one priority for the city of Detroit?
There are a couple priorities I think the next mayor should have. But one of the things I'll mention I think is all-encompassing is that the next mayor must be a good partner. And they must understand that the problems in Detroit are too complex for the local government to solve alone. They have to be good collaborators and partners with community. And a good partner empowers people with the tools and resources to help them solve their own problems. In every neighborhood in Detroit, there are people who are already solving problems, creating urban gardens, small businesses, neighborhood cleanups. I have not seen the city embrace those groups as well as they should.
I think the number one priority needs to be giving proper funding to local organizations in the city of Detroit. Because in all honesty, and like you said, I can speak candidly, I put very little faith into politicians. Historically, they have never been on the ground doing the work, and the people that's on the ground doing the work are these local organizations. They just don't have the proper funding to excel in the community.
My number one priority, I think, for the mayor to succeed is safety, and safety as tied in with freedom. I think if we're defining the opposite of safety as violence, violence is always emerging from the most restricted people, whether they be restricted physically, whether they be restricted emotionally, whether they be restricted economically or politically or socially. Violence is a reaction to restriction. So we have to think about how do we keep our communities safe and how do we keep our communities free.
All right, now those were only 3 of the 6 people on that panel. Other answers included education, safer spaces for young kids, public transportation, even marketing the city better to attract more Gen Zers. We're going to post the entire conversation on clickondetroit.com and our YouTube page so you can see it. It's 35 minutes long. It is a great conversation. In fact, Jason Coulthard is going to be talking one-on-one with Detroit's mayoral candidates today. Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinlock Jr. they'll both answer questions at the Detroit Economic Club this afternoon. It's happening at 12:30. It's going to be streaming live right here on Local 4 Plus and our homepage at clickondetroit.com. Okay, it is 9:06 here on Thursday morning. Voters in communities across Metro Detroit are also going to be heading to the polls on Tuesday, and many of them will vote on millages and proposals to fund police, fire departments, and schools. Today, we're focusing in on the Pontiac School District. They're asking for a renewal of their current sinking fund. The tax rate for homeowners would not change. It's a renewal. So someone with a home worth $100,000 would pay about $79. A $200,000 home would pay $158. A $300,000 home would owe $237. Joining us now to talk about this, Dr. Kim Leverett. She is the superintendent of the Pontiac School District. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Nick.
I think there is a lot of misinformation and confusion about millages and proposals like this, especially when they are renewals, because people think you're asking for more money, and all you're doing is just asking for the same money you normally have.
Right, absolutely.
So what is the sinking fund, and how do you use that money?
So the sinking fund, it's a valuable resource for us in our district, as it allows us to continue to provide resources in our district. So, for example, you have technology enhancements, security enhancements, and overall construction projects. And so some of those recent projects that have been successful, which is why this sinking fund renewal is so important, we've been able to provide doors and windows at Pontiac High School. We've been able to enhance our security access points throughout the district. And so this sinking fund renewal will allow us to do that over the next 5 years.
You know, it's funny, and I ask the same question to everybody when I see this come across, is that it's called a sinking fund. It really shouldn't be. It sounds like an emergency fund, but these are funds that you plan on and use every single year.
Correct. These are funds that we use every single year for additional enhancements throughout the district that allow us to provide resources for the classrooms, resources throughout the district that again help us to point directly to why we're all here, and that is for our children. So again, this sinking fund renewal is very important. These are resources that we have continued to use over the years, and it's important for us to be able to continue to provide these resources as it relates to technology, infrastructure, schools, security, et cetera. Yes.
Speaking of there, and I am not throwing any shade at you at all here, but you are an older district and your infrastructure is older as well. I've been in plenty of your schools, and there's some buildings that certainly need some TLC, and I think that's where this money is really going to be used. Your infrastructure is aging just like the rest of us are.
Correct. That is correct. We have several older buildings throughout the district. Again, these enhancements allow for us to somewhat bring them up to par, bring them up to standards where when students and our staff and community walk into our schools, they are still able to have a great education, but in an environment that has changed to meet the needs of what we're able to provide to our students.
You
Yes.
know, it's funny that when you and I were in school, and I'm not going to date us at all here, we're not going to age us, but we never thought much about the environment of the classroom. It was just more about the curriculum, getting hit the books. And now there have been so many studies and so many conversations about how the environment, eating proper meals, you know, all the mental health, all that can affect education. So when we talk about renewing a fund that you have had for years and hopefully will continue to have, it actually really correlates directly to the quality of education these kids are going to get.
Absolutely, it does. So one of the things that we're currently working on, and the sinking fund renewal will allow us to continue to work on our science labs.
Okay.
So we know that universally, learning environments and how we set our students up for success are so critical, and that's why this sinking fund is so important. It's an additional resource that again enhances the learning environment for our students for years to come.
How many of the Pontiac residents, and I know there are some outside the city in Oakland County that also go to Pontiac Public Schools, just, I don't want to say don't get it, but are just a little ill-informed or misinformed that they think this is an additional tax.
Right. This is not an additional tax. This is simply a renewal from the sinking fund that we've had in previous years.
How many years have you had the fund?
For 5 years.
Okay, so
Yes.
this is not normal at this point.
This is
then.
normal. Yes, it is. We're just asking for this renewal again. It's a valuable resource. Without the sinking fund renewal, we would then have to take those funds, of course, out of our general fund, and we know that with where we are with our state, that it's just challenging times for everyone. So this, again, is going to be something that helps our students, helps our staff, and the overall community.
Well, let's dive into that just a little bit further. If, you know, heaven forbid, this does not get passed, because again, it's a renewal, what would you have to do then? Would you be looking at cutting programs, cutting projects? Would there be layoffs involved?
There would not be layoffs, but we would certainly be looking at cutting projects that, again, when we just talked about the creating those environments where we are setting our students up for success, then we would have to, again, look at how could we fit this into a already tight budget. So it would pose a significant challenge for us as a district, yes.
Gotcha. So the conversations that you've been having in your classrooms and your schools and probably in your boardroom too, just trying to help people understand we're not asking for more money, just the same money you've been giving us.
Just the same money that you've been giving us, and again, it's going to really be able to provide those valuable resources over the next few years for us to be able to continue to work on the projects that we have in place, whether we're talking about our teen health center, additional security to make sure that our staff and students are safe, as well as technology, yes.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Levitt, thank you so much for coming
Thank you, it's been a pleasure.
Helping people understand what's going on there.
Yes, thank you.
Voting season always gets confusing for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, the NCAA is hitting the brakes on a controversial new rule. The reason student athletes will have to wait to put down their own bets when we come back. That wasn't so bad, was it? Welcome back, everybody. It is going to be some time before student athletes can bet on pro sports. The NCAA is hitting the brakes after approving a controversial new betting rule last week. The change would have allowed student athletes to bet on pro sports on November 1st. The SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey calls it a major step in the wrong direction. The date has been pushed to November 22nd, while schools consider a possible complete reversal. The NCAA is delaying that because of what we just explained to you right there. Next up here, we're going to talk more about your headlines and news and a big story with the Detroit Lions. A live look at Ford Field right now. One of the Lions' biggest stars will be calling this stadium home for many years to come. Defensive end Aiden Hutchinson has signed a 4-year staggering deal, $180 million extension with $141 million guaranteed. That locks him up in Detroit for the next 6 years. Hutchinson has been on fire this season, racking up 6 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 13 quarterback hits. This new deal makes Hutchinson the second highest paid pass rusher in the NFL. Only Micah Parsons from the Packers will make more annually. Well, we are counting down the days until the Winter Olympics in Milan and Cortina, Italy get started. February 6th will be here before you know it. Our Ty Steele had a chance to talk with NBC's Mike Tirico about what makes covering the Olympics so special and what makes Milan and Cortina unique as the host cities.
Italy has such a rich sports and cultural history. What kind of energy or atmosphere are you expecting when the world gathers there?
Yeah, as I mentioned about Milan, it's one of those places that if you haven't been there, it's an aspirational destination. You want to go see where all of these famous Italian brands got their start, the original stores that are there. The areas around Milan have such a really cool energy, those plazas, and I'm fascinated to watch how the Olympics will come into that city. It'll feel different than Paris. Paris, I think, used its amazing landmarks to just host as a backdrop all of the venues and sporting events that we enjoyed last summer. This will feel a little bit different, but I do think the love and style of Italy will mesh perfectly with the speed and brawn of these athletes, especially the alpine. Traditionally, Italy, if you think of the Olympics, some dynamic, exciting downhill, giant slalom skiers. And I think that'll bring out the best in the competition from the athletes around the world when they're skiing the same snow that some legends did many, many years before.
Mike, you've called everything from the Masters to Sunday Night Football. What would you say is different about sitting in that Olympic anchor chair compared to anything else in sports broadcasting?
I think it's the energy of the live events that we'll bring to you on Local 4 every afternoon during the games and then come back at night in prime time, and we'll have a curated version, if you will, of everything that happened that day. I love being a part of both of those. But for me, Ty, it's when we are on a couch, on a set somewhere, whether it's Beijing or Pyeongchang or in Paris, and we get to talk to the athletes when they have a medal around their neck and they have achieved their dream. They work for years, decades in some cases, to try to win an Olympic medal, and to be able to sit next to them when that medal is finally theirs forever, it just gets your emotions going. You're just so happy to share those moments, not just with them, but with the country. I think no matter how difficult times are, the Olympics bring America together unlike anything else. And to be the person who gets to be in front of the camera for all those really cool moments is something I cherish, and I can't wait to do again here in February.
And this is just the beginning of our Olympic coverage here on Local 4. Ty, we'll be heading to Italy to take the games, to cover the games and take you behind the scenes, introducing you to Michigan athletes and bring you every moment from Milan to Cortina when the torch is lit in 2026. I'm sure you remember when the Big House held its first big concerts. Well, U of M is about to top that. The music superstar that just scheduled 2 shows in Ann Arbor. This just came in the newsroom. We'll have it for you next. Welcome back, everybody. Just into the newsroom, country music superstar Morgan Wallen announcing a new tour, and he has not one but 2 shows scheduled at the Big House in Ann Arbor. It was just last month when Michigan Stadium held its first ever concert. Zach Bryan and John Mayer. That set the all-time attendance record for a ticketed concert in the U.S. Wallen is set to bring his Still the Problem tour to the Big House on July 24th and 25th next year. Openers include Thomas Rhett, Hardy, and Hudson Westbrook. Let's take a look at your forecast with Ashley, including the all-important Halloween forecast. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, so long to the sunshine and seasonal weather. Today, it's going to be cool, cloudy with a chance for showers. Not everyone gets the rain today. Really want to stress that. The farther northwest you go, the drier you're going to trend, but we will be breezy all across southeastern Michigan. It's going to be the east siders that get clipped with more rain as the day rolls on. So clouds and radar forecast. Let's go ahead and show you how this kind of shakes out. As you see, the east side gets brushed with that green on our future model data. But by the time we get to midnight, most of that is up to the northeast. The low pressure system is tracking across the region will push that direction, taking those outer rain bands with it. So we will trend a little cloudier for the first start of your Friday, and then we'll have a few breaks in the clouds. This model picking up an isolated shower or two really towards the tail end of trick-or-treating or just thereafter. This is the only one that does, though. So a lot of models trending drier, and I think we do stay dry for your Halloween, but it is worth mentioning that we do have one model. It's a high-resolution model that brings that isolated chance. But I'm going to keep it mostly cloudy for trick-or-treating come tomorrow evening. We'll be cool breezy, falling out of the 50s into the 40s, and likely even feeling cooler than that because winds will be whipping upward of about 29 to 30 miles per hour. So this is going to be the windiest day that we have over the next few. And this is a look at tomorrow with those sustained winds around 15 miles per hour. As far as the weekend forecast, we have a night game at the Big House. Plan for it to be on the cooler side because this is going to be past sunset. So we will be in the 40s, starting with upper 40s, falling into the low 40s, and a slight chance for a shower. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, but it is a 7 o'clock kickoff against Purdue. Come Sunday, well, you're going to get either an extra hour of sleep going into Sunday morning or an extra hour of tailgating if you're heading out to the Lions game. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff at Ford Field, which means we're in the 40s for tailgating, 50 as you're walking into Ford Field, and mid-50s by the time we get towards the end of the game. We start off with some clearer conditions early with a few more clouds mixing in, but overall dry. Let's talk more about falling back this weekend. Daylight saving time will end at 2 a.m. on Sunday. So that means you set the clocks back an hour before you go to bed Saturday night. So the sunrise will go from just after 8 a.m. to just after 7 a.m. So we'll start to see that sun earlier, which will be nice. But what a lot of folks don't like is the fact the sun will be setting earlier as well. So we go from close to a 6:30 sunset to more of that 5:30 sunset. Changing the batteries. This is the time of year to do it in the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. There is your reminder. And also want to tell you about ceiling fan settings. If you haven't heard this before, in the summer you want a counterclockwise rotation. That gives you more of that air conditioning cooling effect. But if you change your ceiling fan to clockwise in the winter, that's going to push the heat that rises back down along the walls to the surface, and that could save you a few bucks in heating your home. So now's the time to do that. As we look at that 7-day forecast, we'll be warming back up in the upper 50s early next week with a slight chance for a shower Monday. Otherwise, those overnight lows trending pretty consistently in the mid to upper 30s.
All right, Ash, thank you much. Coming up, a restaurant that is famous for its fries is getting a new owner. We're going to tell you who is getting the keys to a name that's become a staple across the state. Welcome back, everybody. More than 1,000 Detroit auto workers are losing their jobs as GM scales back its EV plans. About 1,200 workers at GM's Factory Zero plant are being laid off as the company drops to a single shift. Hundreds more jobs are also being cut at battery plants in Ohio and Tennessee. GM says slower EV sales and changing government rules are behind the move, but they say they are still committed to U.S. manufacturing long term. A popular restaurant with locations in Detroit, Ann Arbor, Royal Oak, and more getting new owners. Hopcat has been sold to a Chicago investment firm. Uncommon Equity is buying all 13 locations, including 12 here in Michigan and 1 in Nebraska. The new owners say they are not planning any major changes. We'll have to wait and see if they do anything with those signature fries, though. We can't get rid of those. They're delicious. Producer Mary loves them. Detroit is looking to keep and attract local talent through its Tech Founder Fellowship program. The program offers a $2,000 monthly stipend for living and free workspace at Tech Town, Bamboo, and New Lab at Michigan Central. It's funded by a state grant. Applicants must be Michigan College grads after May 2022 and must live in Detroit for 1 year. Applications are open on makemymove.com through December 1st. Well, Governor Whitmer is taking action, pushing for the federal government to fund SNAP benefits with help set out to run in days. We're going to bring you the latest on that and where negotiations stand to end the government shutdown.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli, and thank you so much for watching. A live look at the Bahamas now, where Hurricane Melissa has come and gone, but has left behind flooding and damage. Hurricane Melissa is responsible for at least 30 deaths across the Caribbean, 25 of those people killed in Haiti. Now let's take a look at some video of the damage in Cuba now. Storm hit Cuba as a Category 3 yesterday morning. Most of the Caribbean is without power. Cuba's government is saying overflowing rivers cut off more than 140,000 people. We talked to a woman who owns a Jamaican pot restaurant on 8 Mile here in Detroit. She says her family's home in Jamaica has been destroyed.
My uncle, I don't know, he's old enough right now. He's like, because his home is torn down. He called me, he told me, he said, I lose my home. All my family are worried right now because we can't hear if everybody's alive or, any passing, we know it's bad.
There is a fundraising link online to help those impacted by the hurricanes. You can find it on this story on our website at clickondetroit.com. Now, that historic storm blasted western Jamaica, demolishing homes, knocking down swaths of trees, and washing away roadways. Jamaica's prime minister surveyed some of the damage.
Right now, we are standing in close proximity to the Black River Hospital, and that has been totally destroyed, along with several other buildings, including historic buildings, churches, courthouse, the parish council, and other all the heritage buildings have been destroyed.
Now, restoring power is going to take some time as well. The government says about 77% of the country is currently without electricity. Switching gears here at home, last week we told you about Vista Maria in Dearborn Heights. It was closing its residential treatment program. Now we know just how many workers are out of a job. According to the CEO, 154 people will permanently be laid off. The organization is one of Michigan's oldest child welfare groups and said the program no longer fits the needs of the kids or the state's rules. Vista Maria will keep running other services like foster care and support for young adults. The Local 4 investigators have closely followed this facility and the dozens of violations that have come out of it. You can read all of our investigation work on our website at clickondetroit.com. New overnight, President Trump says he is making progress on tariffs during a meeting with the Chinese president. Trump has agreed to lower overall tariffs on Chinese goods from 57% to 47%. China's Commerce Ministry said it will make corresponding adjustments to its tariffs on the U.S. The nation also agreed to stop its latest controls on the export of rare earth minerals. The stalemate on Capitol Hill nears its 1-month mark with no end to the government shutdown in sight. Now millions of Americans are set to lose access to key food assistance programs in the coming days, and staffing issues at airports are becoming a growing concern. SNAP benefits, formerly known as food stamps, are slated to dry up on November 1st, a program that will affect an estimated 40 million Americans. Soaring healthcare costs are also of concern. That mounting pressure to reopen the government boiled over on the Senate floor. Republican Majority Leader John Thune directed his anger at Democratic colleagues over what he says is their unwillingness to open the government.
People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out 29 days in that, oh, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money.
Now, Thune later told reporters he would personally engage with moderate Democrats soon on a way to address issues over the expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies that led to the shutdown. On the other side of the aisle, Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries claims Republicans are trying to weaponize this issue against Democrats.
Well, none of this pain that Republicans have inflicted on the American people is acceptable. The Trump administration doesn't need Congress to act in order to continue providing nutritional and food assistance to everyday Americans. They're trying to weaponize this issue and cause people to go hungry in the most callous and cruel manner possible.
Now, here in Michigan, more than 1.4 million people are expected to lose those SNAP benefits on November 1st. Dozens of state attorney generals are suing the U.S. Department of Agriculture, including Michigan. They are demanding the department use $6 billion in reserve funds to keep SNAP benefits flowing. And just this morning, Governor Whitmer said she sent a letter to the White House urging the White House to continue SNAP distributions. Now, many food banks and nonprofits say they are preparing for more need. Volunteers with the nonprofit We Are One Community Unity expect their Free Food Wednesday program will continue to be a buffer for some residents.
We've tripled in the number of people we've been feeding, and we're seeing a whole lot of new faces, a whole lot of new kids, older people, elderly people, but I can only imagine what's going to happen after the benefits are gone.
Now, if you or someone you know are looking for food assistance, we have a list of places that can help over on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, we have been covering danger zones all week in Livonia, Detroit's west side, Rochester Hills, areas that WDIV insiders said are areas of concern, and now we're going to the city of Wayne. Wilbert reached out to us about speeders and crashes on Van Born between Merriman and Wayne roads. He says it's 50 miles per hour through a residential area, which draws pedestrians to cross Van Born, and people are doing 65 to 70 miles per hour sometimes. Priya Mann went to check it out and got answers on what can be done to change the speed limits.
We're on Van Born near Merriman and Wayne, and the speed limit here is 50, but just about a mile away it drops to 45 miles an hour. So we brought out the speed gun to see just how fast drivers are going.
A lot of people are going way over 50, usually it's about 65. I've seen people even up to 70.
We were out there around 8:30 on a weekday morning to see for ourselves.
61. Wilbert Evans reached out to Local 4 about drivers speeding on Van Born between Merriman and Wayne roads.
50 miles per hour is just too fast for this area now. We have kids trying to cross the Van Born to go to the store or go over to Hype or go to school or things like that, and it's just way too fast.
Wayne police say that stretch of Van Born is a border street between the cities of Romulus and Wayne, and that both police departments patrol and enforce violations there. 55. People who live in the area say they're worried about pedestrians crossing at night and car crashes.
There's been a couple of really bad accidents with fatalities off of Van Born, but people definitely, the speed, you can see the tire tracks of people when they're speeding, that they're doing donuts and things.
If I do see somebody speeding, it's these young folks and Hellcats and some of these hot rods, then I see them out here doing their thing.
Wilbert says when he called Romulus officials about reducing the speed limit on Van Born, he was met with finger pointing.
I was told that that was not owned by Romulus, and I called over to Wayne. They said that wasn't owned by Wayne, but this is actually a county issue. And if it was going to be reduced, it would be done by the county.
So we did some digging, and Wilbert is right. Wayne County oversees this stretch of Van Born. When it comes to changing a speed limit, there is a process. First, MSP takes the lead. They conduct a study, and then both MSP and the county have to sign off. And right now, this issue is not on their radar. Families who live in the area, though, are just hoping drivers will slow down. I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
All right, Priya, thank you much. Our investigation into danger zones will continue. So if you have an area you are worried about in your neighborhood, head to clickondetroit.com and describe the problem to us. I've got another danger zone in the city of Warren tomorrow, a problem spot for both drivers and the Warren Police Department. Well, it is spooky season, but not everybody loves a good fright. Producer Mary, what say you? She loves being in the newsroom right behind us. There's apparently a science behind it. We're going to look into why some are loving being scared and others, they just hate it. Almost as much as Mary hates being on TV. Welcome back, everybody. Tomorrow is Halloween, the spookiest day of the year. And while some hate getting scared, did you know there actually is a science behind why people love being frightened? Apparently, our brains release a hormone that makes us alert and ready to act, and it causes our pupils to dilate, and breathing can speed up, and our heart rate to rise, like we're preparing to face danger. I talked with a psychiatrist and director of the Stress and Trauma and Anxiety Research Clinic at Wayne State University. Take a listen. It's such a good and fun conversation because obviously there is a huge demand for this kind of thing, especially this time of year. You've got your book here titled Afraid, Understanding the Purpose of Fear and Harnessing the Power of Anxiety. I can put it up right there. I'll just ask the very basic question. Why do people like this?
It's amazing, right? People come pay me to help them get rid of their anxieties and fears.
Some people want it.
Pay the haunted house to be afraid, right? So, and I've been thinking about this for a while. So there are different aspects. One is the biology. Okay. As you mentioned earlier, the fight and flight system, right? The heart is beating faster, you're more alert, you're more awake, you're more in here, and pupils dilated. The same experience you have when you're excited about something, when you're in love, when you're thrilled. So basically, we trigger the system which is overlapping between these two, and because we cognitively know we are safe, we enjoy the ride. It's like you show an angry wolf on TV to your dog, and the dog believes that's real and gets riled up, and you're having fun here, right? So there's that dog inside me that doesn't understand the difference between real and unreal.
Okay.
If somebody's chasing me with something looking like a knife in a haunted house or on a street, the dog inside me reacts the same. But then the more advanced cognitive human says, oh, this is a haunted house.
This is fake.
Oh, this is an alley. Here I should run away. Here I can enjoy it.
Okay.
And the balance between how real it feels to the whole system is where different people can enjoy or get terrified or get bored.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you this then. If knowing all that, why is it then that some people enjoy it and some people hate it, if the science is the same?
Yeah. Because the systems are different, right? The balance between the dog and the human. If I have a big Great Pyrenees and the dog gets scared and it's pulling me, it's different than if I have a Chihuahua that is scared and pulling, right? So the level of realism to my body, even for the same person, there are things that are fun for me. There are things that are too, for example, as a physician, zombie movies don't thrill me because constantly my brain is like, well, this heart is not pounding, there's no oxygen going to the muscles, so it doesn't make sense. It's boring to me. But some things that feel a lot more real to my system are a lot more triggering, or it could be too scary. Like, I cannot do roller coasters because I'm a little bit afraid of heights.
Oh, okay. So it's not the fear of some of the issues there. It's the actual physical height of the roller coaster.
Physical height and how real things feel to me. But then there are other factors beyond the biology as well. For example, the bonding that we have. Most of these activities we do together, right? High emotions help us bond together. The other parts are like, this resets the fear system. Let's say before coming to this interview, I was a little bit nervous about what if it goes wrong. Example, right? Or like I want to give a public talk and I'm a little bit nervous. Now, I go see possibility of death in that haunted house. Or if I'm on the edge of a cliff, I'm looking at the bottom and I see my own death. Now, coming back to the anxiety of the interview or public speaking, it kind of resets it.
Okay.
Now, when I come back to my normal life, I'm like, wow, my life is much better than what could happen in that haunted house if it was real. Right?
It's funny you say that because I am not a roller coaster person at all. I don't necessarily have a fear of heights. I just don't like that physical feeling. But a lot of it, I think, is because I can see what's coming. But for instance, like Space Mountain at Disney, where the roller coaster is inside and it's pitch black and you don't see what's coming, I can do that just fine. Why is that?
So here's that, you said that you anticipate.
Okay.
If you see the danger that feels, okay, if I'm at high level or if I'm seeing something scary part of me, the dog is seeing. Now imagine the dog is blindfolded. The dog doesn't see how deep the bottom is here.
Okay.
The dog doesn't see that big open jaws there that we may be going into. So that makes it easier because now you either don't see or you can imagine something easier than this. There's also this other aspect, which is kind of a practice for us, because historically, fear system was functioning in a different way. Like 20,000 years ago, the fears were different, right? They were like they were real threats. I could die because of those. Now, when you're watching that horror movie or you're going through the haunted house, you're constantly practicing, how would I survive this, right? Sometimes I even find myself yelling at the character, hey, why are you going this way? You should be going this other way, right? That's how you're practicing, and kind of like vicariously, the system, the primitive system is preparing itself for such things to come. So there are so many different aspects to why we do this. Why do I get myself into dangerous situations? Some is like less dangerous when you just have the remote and you can stop the danger.
Just turn it off.
Some is thrill-seeking activities like bungee jumping.
So do you go to haunted houses?
I have gone a few times.
Okay.
Yeah. I even do heights, like to overcome my own fear. Actually, the good opportunity, we can overcome some of these fears. I went to the Grand Canyon, did the mule ride down the Grand Canyon,
Okay.
flew in a fighter jet and did some rolls. Now I'm a lot less scared. I'm still a little bit, my knees get shaky.
Sure, but you knew you survived it.
Yeah, yes.
Incredible. Doctor, thank you so much. It's
Thanks
fascinating.
for having me.
Thank you
I
very, very much. Alrighty, worlds are about to collide in downtown Detroit. Huntington Place will be a full anime and classic art this weekend. We're going to tell you everything happening there when we come back.
Going on a journey.
It is a big weekend at Huntington Place with the best of both worlds starting today. Guests will be able to explore the lives and legacy of both Monet and Vincent van Gogh. Their masterpieces are being transformed into a one-of-a-kind immersive art experience. There will be 700 masterpieces through innovative projections, original landscapes, and immersive storytelling. Tickets are available right now. Then, you can enter a vibrant world of anime, gaming, and pop culture magic over at Umicon. The Anime Festival and Cosplay Convention is celebrating 20 years. It kicks off at 5 p.m. today, also at Huntington Place. Fans can explore cosplay, challenge friends in interactive gaming halls, meet celebrity guests from K-pop demon hunters, and more. Umicon runs through November 2nd. Admission starts at $30. All right, let's check on your forecast. The all-important Halloween forecast with Ashley Barrissey. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, so long to the sunshine and seasonal weather. Today, it's going to be cool, cloudy with a chance for showers. Not everyone gets the rain today. Really want to stress that. The farther northwest you go, the drier you're going to trend, but we will be breezy all across southeastern Michigan. It's going to be the east siders that get clipped with more rain as the day rolls on. So clouds and radar forecast. Let's go ahead and show you how this kind of shakes out. As you see, the east side gets brushed with that green on our future model data. But by the time we get to midnight, most of that is up to the northeast. The low pressure system is tracking across the region will push that direction, taking those outer rain bands with it. So we will trend a little cloudier for the first start of your Friday, and then we'll have a few breaks in the clouds. This model picking up an isolated shower or two really towards the tail end of trick-or-treating or just thereafter. This is the only one that does, though. So a lot of models trending drier, and I think we do stay dry for your Halloween, but it is worth mentioning that we do have one model. It's a high-resolution model that brings that isolated chance. But I'm going to keep it mostly cloudy for trick-or-treating come tomorrow evening. We'll be cool breezy, falling out of the 50s into the 40s, and likely even feeling cooler than that because winds will be whipping upward of about 29 to 30 miles per hour. So this is going to be the windiest day that we have over the next few. And this is a look at tomorrow with those sustained winds around 15 miles per hour. As far as the weekend forecast, we have a night game at the Big House planned for it to be on the cooler side because this is going to be past sunset. So we will be in the 40s, starting with upper 40s, falling into the low 40s, and a slight chance for a shower. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, but it is a 7 o'clock kickoff against Purdue. Come Sunday, well, you're going to get either an extra hour of sleep going into Sunday morning or an extra hour of tailgating if you're heading out to the Lions game. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff at Ford Field, which means we're in the 40s for tailgating, 50 as you're walking into Ford Field, and mid-50s by the time we get towards the end of the game. We start off with some clearer conditions early with a few more clouds mixing in, but overall dry. Let's talk more about falling back this weekend. Daylight saving time will end at 2 a.m. on Sunday. So that means you set the clocks back an hour before you go to bed Saturday night. So the sunrise will go from just after 8 a.m. to just after 7 a.m. So we'll start to see that sun earlier, which will be nice. But what a lot of folks don't like is the fact the sun will be setting earlier as well. So we go from close to a 6:30 sunset to more of that 5:30 sunset. Changing the batteries. This is the time of year to do it in the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. There is your reminder. And also want to tell you about ceiling fan settings. If you haven't heard this before, in the summer you want a counterclockwise rotation. That gives you more of that air conditioning cooling effect. But if you change your ceiling fan to clockwise in the winter, that's going to push the heat that rises back down along the walls to the surface, and that could save you a few bucks in heating your home. So now's the time to do that. As we look at that 7-day forecast, we'll be warming back up in the upper 50s early next week with a slight chance for a shower Monday. Otherwise, those overnight lows trending pretty consistently in the mid to upper 30s.
Ash, thank you so much. Mackinac, Sault Ste. Marie, Ypsilanti. If you're not from Michigan, these words, they might be tough to pronounce if you just saw them, but they don't make the cut when it comes to the most mispronounced words in the state. We're going to reveal which word is taking that top spot when we come back. Alrighty, I forced Kim and Tati to come in just a few moments early because I need them to be a part of the story. What word do you think Michiganders mispronounce the most? It's not Gratiot, it's not Shaner, it's not Tequinter, it's not Livernois, it is...
Well, I said Tequamanon,
yeah.
like Tequamanon Falls.
That's a really good guess.
Is it a person, place, or thing?
It's a thing. I'll give you, it's a pastry.
Oh, Punchki.
There it is.
Oh,
yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Punchki.
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 Oh, that's what I said.
Punchki.
That's what I said. No.
According to an analysis of 2025 Google data, Michigan's most mispronounced word is punchki. It's, of course, a traditional Polish pastry, ranking among the most searched for mispronunciations across several states. Now, let's test the rest of them. Across the U.S., the most mispronounced words across the U.S. First one?
Gyro.
Gyro.
Yeah, not
okay.
gyro.
It's not gyro, it's not gyro, it's gyro.
Oh, this next one's hard.
I've heard people say gyrosh.
Oh,
like add a little
wow.
Really?
Maybe that's like adding an S on the end of like
if you want
Targets.
multiple?
Yeah, Myers.
Myers.
Oh, God, I hate when my parents do that.
I do that.
It's not Kroger's. It's Kroger.
It's actually Kroger's.
There's lots of
the S is
Kroger,
silent.
though. Yeah. The next one I have a hard time saying.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire? Worcestershire?
I just say Worcestershire. Worcestershire.
Do you guys even have that sauce ever?
No.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever had that is in a Bloody Mary.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
it's good in a Bloody Mary.
Actually,
Is it though? Of course Kim knows that.
It adds depth to certain dishes.
Yeah.
Any beef you're cooking, like if you're making spaghetti sauce, I got that from one of our former coworkers, and it works.
That is
pretty
not
well.
in the Italian recipe.
It is
I
not in the
promise you
Italian,
that.
for sure, Monticelli.
This one always throws me off, especially when we had like a guess. It's
acai.
Acai.
Yeah.
Okay, but that A-C-A-I is not pronounced acai.
How would you spell it then?
Acai.
No, how would you spell it? If you could spell it. Acai.
Oh, A-Y.
They'll be like acai. It's acai.
And Qatar. Now that one I kind of get. I mean, the Q throws you off a little bit.
Q. People could say
Some people say
Qatar.
cutter. Some people do say cutter.
They do.
I have heard that before.
Yes.
Yes. Interesting.
Oh, this is fun. This is a fun little
now,
game.
the reason you're here is to talk about Live in the D. So
We are here to talk
we have
about Live in
60
the
seconds
D.
left in the show.
Okay, real quick. So we are talking about how to keep Halloween healthy.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of candy that's piling up just from all the events.
Those two words do not belong in the same sentence.
Well, Jody Treeweiler actually believes that they do.
Well, I don't care what Jody
it's a
says.
possibility.
I want more Sour Patch Kids.
Well, we can balance it out. Have some Sour Patch Kids and have some of her fancy sugar-free candy. He's not buying it.
We're also talking about facelifts for 20-year-olds.
No.
I'm not kidding. It's happening.
No.
We're talking about
Really?
it. Yes.
It is.
Are they good for, like, is it bad for your skin? Does it do anything like any kind of permanent damage? I don't know.
It's like they're cutting into your...
They're cutting into your skin?
This is serious
Skin.
surgery.
My thing is, if you start doing that at 20, what happens when you're 30, 40, 50,
When you're
60?
25, yeah.
Exactly.
Live in the D starts at 11 o'clock. More facelifts for everybody.
Yes.